Hey, welcome back. Glad to have you. Week one's in the books. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was so excited when football season hit. When Thursday hit, it was nice. It was so nice. Get to sit back, watch some football on the big screen, and enjoy a game that came down to the wire by a toe. It's like that's so unfortunate. But and then Friday. I mean, Friday football. Not used to Friday football, but I was there for it, and just watching the game. Uh, it was a lot of slipping and sliding, but still a good game in general, I thought. And then Sunday, I mean, Sunday was wild. There were some upsets. I mean, Patriots beating the Bengals, pretty big upset there. There was the kickers duel. I mean, kickers on kickers this week. I mean, Moody went off for 26 on Monday. I mean, Boswell went for like in the 20s. Uh, Aubrey went for like 21 or something like that. It's just that's just a few, man. It was a ton. And then you've had defenses like Pittsburgh and Chicago, or special teams even, that won the game, like just won the game for their team without the offense really doing anything. I mean, either way. And then even seeing Aaron Rodgers on Monday Night Football, it was like, wow, he still gets sleated at 40 years old, basically. So, but it was nice, and also fantasy football season was here. So, and with that being said, welcome to the video. This video is just a recap video. Basically, what we do is just recap what went on during the week, uh, see who performed best on each team. There's also, and we also do this on Sleeper.com. I don't have, it's just a platform for entertainment. We don't, like, we're not trying to steal their likeness or anything like that. But basically, we go through, recap the video. We take a look at the weekly reports for each for the this week. We'll look at the power rankings even as well. Oh, excuse me. And something I'm introducing this year that I forgot to introduce last week was game of the week. So we'll pick one for the first week of the season, and then when the second one, when we get to the discuss the second matchup, second or week two matchups, then we will uh, pick a game from there as well. So without further ado, let's get started, man. So a lot has changed since the last video was made. As you can see on the right, there have been some changes to teams. So now instead of the Allen team, it's now Garrett and the Jets for him. And then, as you can see right down here, there's been a few more. Oop, I went a little too far there. There's Make Amarika great again, like Amari Cooper, which I thought that was funny. Next is, I'm not going to read that, but Saquon. I'll read the first one. Saquon switched his team now. Why not this? I'm not reading that, but Hurts is Hurts. We'll just give some nicknames. Nicknames are pretty cool here. So there's a few teams that changed their names. Teams that have changed their names. And a lot of waiver wire pickups and things like that. But here are the matchups for week one. So first one, we'll start off where uh, Hurts defeated Big Papa 123.06 to 118.82. This one is what I'm considering game of the week here, because this came down to Sunday night, and it came down to the last play of overtime. The reason I say that is because he had David Montgomery. Looks like Hurts had David Montgomery, and it looked like in this game where it wasn't, it didn't seem like as bad. You know, it was 118 to 112, and it looks like he was being shut down. Then when overtime hit, he basically took over. The Rams could not stop Montgomery. When they put other people in, they were able to stop them, but Montgomery just tore it up, basically. And they said, all right, we're just going to run it down your throats, try to stop it. And they couldn't. And they won in overtime based on the last play of the game. Got that touchdown and jumped up from 117 to 123, basically, for the win. So this one came down to the wire a bit. But looking at people, see what they're like. We're basically just going to go through, like, pick the best player who scored the most points basically per week. So in this case, for Big Papa, Tyreek Hill was the top performer for his team. 7 for 12, 130 yards and a touchdown. Big play touchdown there. And for Hurts, it is actually Stephon Diggs, and which Stephon Diggs surprised me here because I was not expecting him to go off for 2 touchdowns. I wasn't expecting him to get that many targets either, and he got 6 targets. I'm just saying, like, with the Houston offense, from what I've seen, it's Tank Dell was the first go-to guy for C.J. Stroud, and when he got hurt, then he went to Nico Collins, and it seemed like he went to take down Nico Collins, but then when they got down the goal line, it was Diggs with that slant over for a touchdown. I'm like, okay, so that's how it's basically going to be. They're going to get closer. He's going to get a lot of the red zone targets, and but still, surprised me with the 2 touchdowns, 21.9 points. Next on it was Game Over for You, beating Unfinished Business 134.71 to 92.44. The best player for Unfinished Business, I took a look at this earlier, it is Jordan Love. Jordan Love played a pretty solid game. I mean, his receiving core is basically unstoppable. It seems like he has figured it out against tough defenses. So, I mean, that team's going to be scary as long as he doesn't get hurt. But unfortunately, he got hurt last week, and it's already saying doubtful. I didn't think he was going to play this week. I thought he might play next week, actually, because they didn't put him on the IR. So it's like, okay, maybe they might play him next week, or if not, the week after. And then for Game Over for You, I already took a look at all these lineups here. As I'll just scroll down here just so you guys can see. For the starters, anyway. Their best player was Lamar Jackson, and he tore it up basically at the end, making the comeback. I mean, 273 and a touchdown, uh, and 16 carries, 122 yards, and a basically fall. But still, he's ridiculous, and he should have had another touchdown at the end if Isaiah Likely's foot was if it wasn't on the white line. That would have put him, like, with the touchdown, that would have put him about 36 and then going for 2. And supposedly, if he makes that, that's another 2 points. So, I mean, extra 10 point swing, basically. It could have been, extra 10 points could have been for Game Over for You. But still, it didn't matter. Unfinished business, a lot of guys underperformed for him. Even St. Brown. I mean, St. Brown was not, was usually goes off for about 20 against these guys. He went off, I think, for 19 last year against these guys, but they shut him down and focused on him. Jameson Williams had himself a big game. Next matchup, Garrett and the Jets versus Ricky Bobby, and that ended up being our highest score of the evening, 141.05 to 116. Just run through the teams here real quick, finding the best players. In this case, we already know. Let's take a look. We already know. It's Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua, poor guy, got hurt. His knee issue is going to be out for the first 4 weeks of the season. And of course, when Cooper Kupp, it felt like the old Rams offense, The old Rams offense of let's pepper Cooper Kupp with targets and get a lot of receiving yards and a touchdown. But in this case, he had 14, which I believe is his career high, and with 110 yards and a touchdown. So, and then for Ricky Bobby, and then for Garrett, it was Josh Allen. Now, some people were going in there thinking, he lost his receivers. Let's see what he can do. And he pretty much showed what he can do this game. 232, 2 touchdowns, and 9 carries for 39 yards and 2 touchdowns. Might hurt James Cook's rushing TD, but I mean, I'm hoping he gets more this season. I don't have him in any of my leagues, but kind of hoping he gets more this season. But Josh Allen, that's besides the point. Josh Allen showing that why he's still dominant, why he's still basically the focal point of the offense. He can basically do what he wants, still as QB1. So Just double check. Is there anything out of the ordinary? Let's add some stuff. AJ Brown teeing it off. It looks like. Let's see. Yeah, and then Devon Achane going for 23 on Ricky Bobby's side. All right, that's the first three here. Next three, and next here we got Saquon taking on Amari Cooper again. Okay, but with a 123.66 to 101.78 win for Saquon. Looking at the teams here, just looking at quick here. Mahomes 16, so he struggled with 18. Saquon for Saquon, 34.2 points. Goodness. Welcome to the Philadelphia Eagles, Saquon. It's about time like he got rewarded for all the hard work he's put in, basically. Giants didn't do him nothing, and he didn't do any favors, didn't do nothing really with him. He basically, it seems like now he's not as stressed out because there's other weapons around him. He's got good receivers. He has a good offensive line. He's got good quarterback play. He rarely had any of that in New York. But and then it looks like for America, it's Alvin Kamara with 22 points here. Still picking up where he left off. He had efficiencies dropped a little bit. But, 15 carries, 83 yards, a touchdown, and 5 receptions for 27 ain't that bad, actually. And he's still picking up, like I said, where he left off. I think he finished what? Let me check a look here. Just trying to make sure it was. What did he finish last year? Let's see. Yeah. Okay, we can just go down to here. So, yeah, he finished as, 11. He finished as the PPR rank of 11. And that's still with missing 4 games. One with the injury and the 3-game suspension. If he played on pace of what he did last year, he would have had an RB2. And now, let's just say he drops a little bit. It's still around the 6 range. Is still pretty good. He's still going to get his touches as long as Derek Carr is the quarterback. And poor Puka, man. That was a bummer, dude. Yeah, I don't like to see a person get hurt. I don't like to see a person get hurt. Because, kind of feel bad for him, but also the injuries can be severe, especially with playing with the pads and dealing with those things or making the twist and getting it wrong. So it's part of adult life. But poor guy. Hope he gets back on the field soon. I know it was going to be at least 4 games, but they're talk of maybe more. But and then Devontae Smith on Saquon's side did pretty solid here, 7 for 84. It's not bad. Ferguson got hurt as well, poor guy. Ridley still finished 3 for 7 with 50 yards. He has just 8 for how bad Will Levis played. Still had 8 fantasy points, which tells me it's okay, if he plays good, he's going to dominate, hopefully. And then Chris Godwin. I will admit, Chris Godwin was not on my bingo card, basically. Yes, I've heard he's safe receiver. I've heard he's all these things, but it didn't sit right with me, basically, okay, I know he got moved to the slot and started playing a little bit better, but it wasn't to where it's okay, this guy's going to go ham or get a stable amount of work in the offense. It's going to be like Mike Evans, basically, or check downs to Rashad White. But no, he got himself a good solid amount, 8 targets, 8 receptions, 83 yards, and a touchdown. And so I intending to jump on the thing. Is okay, I'll dip my toes in the water, basically. Okay, let's think of some good stuff. They play the Lions this week, or this for week 2. Lions will try to make them win in front of you and not deep ball. So Mike Evans could be a slight downgrade, even though he could just dominate him too, which means there'll probably a lot of targets to Chris Godwin again. I could see that happening. So, okay, just dipping the water, just dipping the toes in the water, that's all. But pretty solid kickers here. So, next on this list is Witch Nasty against Hot Pockets. And it looks like Witch Nasty comes out on top, 130.7 to 118.79. And this one was also in consideration for Game of the Week. Basically came down to the last day, and unfortunate for Hot Pockets that CMC was not playing this game. And I mean, it took a lot of people in the fantasy community by storm. And so, and unfortunately, too, he didn't have anybody. He didn't have anybody to throw into his lineup because all of his guys were basically like, as I look through here, all of his guys had basically played. There's a good matchup here, and all the guys had like basically played, and there's no running back he could have used here. And you don't see it here, but we do have IR spots, and he's got somebody in the IR spot as well, so he couldn't really do anything. So he was out of luck, which stinks because I mean, there's nothing you could do. Like, if there's something you could do, I'm not gonna like penalize or like get on to that person about it. But if there's nothing you could do, there's nothing you can do. And Mason, he could have picked up Mason, okay, but unfortunately, Mason was already drafted. Mason was picked like last by Garrett, so I could see him, uh, Garrett to the Jets. Like I could see him uh, throwing him in there for that week. But either way, so looking at like who did good stuff like that. I mean, there's some good ones here. Jaden Daniels, dude. I mean, I had a feeling he was going to like go off a little bit, but he's still got to work on his passing game a bit. The leading receivers were the running backs. I don't know if anyone cares to do it, but like basically Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. were the two leading receivers that game. Um, Only a couple targets for the tight end even at that thing, but still he got 184 and then had a lot of carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he's still, I think, going to be fantasy relevant and still going to be working his tail off. But he's got a tough, or actually no, because he's got the Giants this week. Oh, that should be interesting. I mean, Aaron Jones went for 19 in this league, so I could see a lot of running. There's going to be a lot of running here. And then for this side, I mean, Anthony Richardson, dude, picking back up where he left off. I figured he would get like a low 20. I didn't think it'd be closer to 30. But I mean, 212 for 2 touchdowns, interception, and then 6 for 56 and a touchdown. It's still pretty solid. It's going to be a lot of touchdowns, maybe vulture by the goal line, maybe. But I'm hoping for Jonathan Taylor. I'm hoping for Jonathan Taylor a couple touchdowns this week against against the Packers. I could see. I mean, the Eagles ran all over him. It shouldn't be like it shouldn't be any different at this point. But even Joe Mixon is like one of those names where it's like this guy shouldn't be doing good, and then he's good, and then it's like we keep doubting him, and he keeps showing us up basically. 27.8 points, goodness. And then Stevenson on Hog Pocket side. Stevenson with 22.6. They paid him a lot. They used him like a bell cow, basically. 120, one touchdown, 3 receptions for 6 yards. But CeeDee Lamb here with 13. Looks like Nico Collins uh, on Hot Pockets had himself a pretty decent game for 18.7, 6 for 117. Still pretty solid for both. And then, goodness, look at this. The battle of the kickers here. Jake Moody, it's like 20. Here. It's like Brandon Aubie gets 21, which I really wish they would have let him kick that 61-yard field goal. He was going, for those that didn't see it, he was going to line up for a 66-yard field goal. Had a penalty on the offense, moved it back 5 yards. Then the kicking team was still on the field, and he was going to, I was like, please let him do it. Let him try from 71. It, like he drilled, oh, I should say, he drilled the, let me go back here. He drilled the kick, like when when the penalty hit, he kicked the ball anyway. He drilled that kick, and there were still some yards to spare. So, I mean, imagine if they would have had him try it, dude. I would have been so all over it. I probably would have talked to the group and see if we can make like if there's like a history related thing or something to do something special for it. I don't know. But either way, it's like, okay, 21 points. Let's see Moody top that. And Moody goes for 26. Jets defense held their own basically when it came to like the offense getting in the red zone. That's what they do. They're one of the tops when it comes to giving up fantasy points to kickers. But not this bad. But San Francisco basically scored on like 8 straight possessions or something like that. And they drove down the field. I mean, you could see the field goal numbers here. And then New Orleans with 13 here. But yeah. And then final game of the evening between Bird Abides and Gritty Fly was a 117.46 to 87.97 for the thing. A lot of guys underperformed. We'll just say that. Underperformed for Gritty Fly here. But he still had Kenneth Walker go for about 20 points. Still was efficient as always. 5 yards a carry, 103 for a touchdown and 2 receptions here. We all heard talks about him getting more reception work, and that might still be the case. Excuse me. But he's got to stay healthy. I mean, he's missed 3. Like he's had, I think, in his 2 seasons, 15 games apiece. So, I mean, that's still going here. Justin Jefferson still played like Justin Jefferson, 15 points, like 4 for 6, 59, a touchdown. Now, yes, it's the Giants' defense, but now they're going against San Francisco. So, let's see how they perform here in that. Is it still going to be easy for Justin Jefferson, or is it going to be less passes and maybe dink and dunks? But we'll see. We'll see when that comes up. Not many tight ends, I should say. Like a lot of the tight ends underperformed today. But I'll come back to that tight ends actually. Let's see, going for Bird Abides. And actually, his lineup, it seemed like it was pretty solid across the board here. Gibbs had 17. You had Ford, who led his team basically, who was the leading scorer on his starters for 18.9. Got a majority of it towards the end, but I mean, still, he was the receivers couldn't do anything. Cowboys shut down the receivers, so of course you got to throw it, dunk it down to the running back, and they moved down the field. They were scored because of that. So now, Marvin Harrison. Before anyone goes crazy, it's like, oh, I shouldn't have picked him. Hold up on that just a minute, because there was a big play touchdown that was overthrown, and there was a couple times that Marvin Harrison was open and he didn't see him, and Murray didn't see him, or threw it short. So I'm still like, I still would keep your hopes up. He would have had like a ton of points, but unfortunately that was the case. Jalen Waddle, even though played hurt, still 17. I mean, Pitts has a double-digit fantasy point game. 3 for 3, 26 and a touchdown. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is a make it or break it year. And if he goes off, it's like, okay, this was why. He did not have a quarterback. He did not have a coaching staff. Now he has both. DJ Moore, surprisingly, 10 points to me. That was surprising. Like, even like how bad Caleb Williams played. And a majority, I don't even think he cracked 100 yards. But still had 5 receptions for 36 yards. That's still. And then Fairbairn, I was hesitant, but I knew he was going to go off. He was hurt a majority last season. And I could see, I don't know if he's fully healed. That's the thing. And then Pittsburgh defense. You can see the defense here, still pretty solid. That's for those. Next on this list, we're looking at the weekly reports. Sleeper does these weekly reports. For those that don't follow, Sleeper does these weekly reports every week that shows different awards, like best team, players of the week, benchmarks awards, performances, efficiency, like stuff like that. So let's get started. We'll walk you through it. Best team, by best team they mean best scoring team of the week, was Garrett and the Jets with 141.05. And then for the worst scoring team was Gritty Fly for a Fight Guy with 87.97 here. Players of the week. Of course, it's kind of hard to see here. My stuff's not working. But either way, quarterback was Josh Allen with 34 points. Saquon Barkley was the running back of the week for 34.2. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp, 33 points. Brock Bowers was the tight end of the week by a slim margin over Kyle Pitts. I will say Brock Bowers I did not see as a person leading the league as a tight end one. and getting a whole bunch of targets either way. 6 for 56, I believe he had, or 6 for 58. Oh, oopsies, 6 for 58. I mean, that's still pretty good, but usually if it's Gardner Minshew's usually throwing to his two receivers. He did it in Jacksonville. He threw a little bit like here and there to the tight end, but he didn't really do that as much. And then he went to the Colts and did it with Pittman and did it with Downs. And then now he's coming here with Adams and Jacoby Myers. But Brock Bowers seems to be involved as well. So this should be interesting. And then Moody with 26. And then the Cowboys defense with 21.54. For bench warmers of the week, they have Tua Tagovailoa at 18.62 for pancakes here. And then for Saquon, it was J.K. Dobbins, so 23.9. I should have saw that coming, though, because that's how it was for Baltimore, where he was the top guy and Gus Edwards was behind him. But he was dominant until he got hurt. And he was still good, but he get hurt, and we didn't see it. So, I mean, he's basically picking up right where he left off. And then Jalen Reed, 34.1. For that team, though, like you didn't know how he was going to play. Christian Watson was still there. And usually when Christian Watson's in, Reed doesn't do as well. But for this game, they covered Christian Watson and left Reed wide open plenty of times. Dallas Goedert, that's 7.1 points for the tight end. There's no kickers on the bench. Nobody had any kickers on the bench. And then for the best defense on the bench was the Browns defense at 6.09. Now we get to here. The most efficient manager. 120. It was Why Not This with Hurts for 123.06 out of a possible 123.06. For those that don't understand how they come up with this, it's basically just it's your team scored out of the total number of points you could, the maximum amount of points, which means that like if you had guys on your bench, there'll be a couple guys on your bench that outscore your starters. And you could throw, if you were to throw those guys in, your maximum amount of points could have been such and such. In this case, it's 100% here for Why Not This. There's nobody on his bench could have overtaken him. However, for least efficient manager, was Matty Ice with 118.79 out of a possible 153.79. I'm sure if there was another player that would have been a running back, definitely would have gotten thrown in, and it might have been somebody else here. That's unfortunate. So highest points of the loss goes to Whiteout 43 with 118.82, and that loss to Whiteout This. And then lowest point. Okay, so Matty Ice. Sorry, I should trace back a little bit. Matty Ice was Hawk Pockets. Whiteout 43 was Big Papa. Bird Abides is still Bird Abides with the lowest points in a win, which was 117.46 over the biggest baddest goat, which would have been again biggest baddest goat. Biggest blowouts was Game Over for You with 134.71 to 92.44, basically about 42 points domination there, 41 points domination there. And then the narrow victory, the close game, which said game of the week, was Why Not This, was Hurts defeating Big Papa, 123.06 to 118.22. Overachiever, which is basically, that just means they add up all the, for those that don't know, they add up all the projected points for your starters. They add them all up, and that's the points you get. So in this case, he had a starter of 97.84 projected points, and it's because Christian McCaffrey was gone. If he was in there, that probably would have jumped up to 117, maybe 118 even. But since it's not, he had the biggest jump in this, so he gets the Overachiever award. Underachiever would be, looks like Baddest Goat with 87.97 out of his projection of 115.83. Next on the list, this is just shows the performances. So basically, this long gray thing up at the top here, like so. Let me hold on a minute. Long. Find it here. Hold on. So, yeah. So this long gray thing at the top here shows the maximum amount of points, and this orange thing shows the points that he scored. And then underneath it will show the percentage. So in this case, uh, why not this for Hertz, 113.06, basically 100%. But this goes in order by this just goes in the order by points scored. So like right here is points scored. It is tiny on my screen, but you guys, like when I take a look at the video, it's still easy to read. Um, and then once that happens, I take all like the points that people scored. Okay, I take the point. So we're going power rankings next. I take the points. I take the wins, losses. Put the points. I put them in a formula, and it comes out under two. It's just a fun little way to show, like, okay, like they may have lost here, but are they still the better team? Like it makes it mean so. It's just for fun. So while doing that, doing the formula, it came out like this. So week two power rankings going into week two. Um, it gives you a score. When you put it in, you plug in the games by the win and loss, by the total number of games, and then on the other side, it's like points scored divided by points, like total points basically. And then you add up the two, and that's how you get the score. So in this case, Game Over for You leads the way with a score of 1.59. Second is Berta Bites with 1.57. Now you get to 3 and 4, which there is a tie. Now I usually round to the hundreds place, kind of keep it consistent with the scoring for the other league. And when I do have a tie, I usually go like to the next place, and that's when it usually is. But in this case, I had to go an extra spot afterwards after that. So Garrett and the Jets finishes at 3 with one. It's 1.55, but he had a score of 1.5487. And then Saquon 1.55, but he had a score of 1.5485. So by 0.0002 points. Um, Next is Rich Nasty with 1.52 at the fifth spot. Hertz, followed by Hertz at 1.51. And then at 7, Big Papa with 0.49, followed by Hot Pockets at 0.48. And then Amarika and Ricky Bobby both tied at 0.45, but with their score by 0.0002, Amarika finishes ahead of Ricky Bobby. So Amarika is at 9, with 0.4514, and then Ricky Bobby's 0.4512. Followed by the biggest, baddest goat at 0.43. And then Unfinished Vicious rounds it out at 0.41. It's here. Okay. Now, going to this next part here. Since we're in the league, just gonna take a look at the standings here. As you see, Game Over for You leads the way. I want to know Kyle or Ricky Bobby and Unfinished Business both at 0-1. You got Berta Bides with 1-0, and Baddest Goat and Hot Pockets both at 0-1. You got Witch Nasty and Saquon both 1-0 with excuse me here, Amarika at 0-1. Then you have Garrett and Hertz at 1-0, followed by Big Papa at 0-1. All right, and now we're going on to week 2 here. Just taking a look at the matchups. Game Over for You, taking on Big Papa. Ricky Bobby going against Unfinished Business. Garrett and the Jets going against Hertz. Saquon versus Rich Nasty. Amarika versus Gritty Fly. And Berta Bides versus Hot Pockets. I usually, like, if Sleeper were to pick a game of the week, I think they would have picked, like, Ricky Bobby versus Unfinished Business. Basically, I would assume, or I'd go by, if it was Sleeper, so they need to go by the projections. Okay, Sleeper of the week, like, um, uh, game of the week would be by the percentages. So in this case, there's a lot of 252 and 48s basically. But if I had to take one, I actually would pick Saquon versus Rich Nasty. Um, just for the fact that there's a lot of high upside for both of these. I mean, Stroud's still gonna, I think, go like still gonna have himself a good game, even if though it's Chicago. Uh, Barkley's gonna be Barkley. Josh Jacobs should get a lot of the work this week. Um, um, why can't I think of your name? Oh my goodness, it's been a long day. Devontae Smith, thank you. Devontae Smith should still be solid. I think they focus more on AJ Brown instead. Addison, Addison could be a sleeper if everyone goes for Jefferson. Mark Andrews should have a bounce back game. Chris Godwin over in the slot should have a pretty good game. Harrison Butker, um, I think should be fine as a kicker this week. And then Baltimore's defense against Vegas should be a nice play too. But then you got on his side, I mean, Richardson's high upside, Mixon's high upside. Most start, I'm sure he'll switch that, of course. Then CeeDee Lamb should have a bounce back, I think. Devontae Adams should still, I mean, it's going to be a hard week this week, but I still think he'll do fine. Um, Sam Laporta, I don't know if he'll get to the 14. It might be a little less than that, but still should be pretty good. Malik Neighbors should be fine play. Aubrey is still dominant, and the Eagles still dominant. So, like, it's still, to me, this one seems more intriguing, but who knows? Could be another thing that happens here. So, but okay, that's basically all I had today. For my guys, good luck this week. Good luck in your matchups. It's going to be another blast having another week of football here. Um, and last but not least, if you enjoyed the video or if you learned something, leave a like, subscribe even. Hit the notification if you like. I mean, the world's your oyster. You're down there, might as well. With that being said, we'll be back next week with another recap video. Um, and we'll go from there. So, about time to get out of here. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.